Infinitive English. Together, we're gonna make your English better.
Melfi. What part of the boot you from, hun?
Dr. Melfi. My father's people were from Caserta.
Avellino. My mother would have loved it if you and I got together.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Infinitive English channel. I'm your host. My name is Rahman, and you already know by now what time it is. We're about to get down with some phonetical breakdown. And in this episode, we're taking down some lines from God knows how many award-winning nominees and whatsoever TV show, The Sopranos. Guys, I hope y'all ready for it. Without further ado, let's kick it. Phonetical breakdown.
What part of the boot you from, hun?
My father's people were from Caserta.
Avellino. My mother would have loved it if you and I got together. What part of the boot you from, hun?
What part of the boot you from, hun? What part of the boot you from, hun?
What part of the boot you from, hun?
Blah, 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 hun? Han Mamai, Han Chinggis Khan. What the hell even was it? What part of the boot you from, hun? Okay, guys, worry not. Let's get down to the bottom of this mystery, y'all. Okay, so what part of the boot you from, hun? It is quite different from what we see in the subtitles and on the translucent board. Is this what part of the boot you from, hun? And it's like after it's grammarly violated, it is pronounced God knows how, but guys, relax, take it easy, okay? So it's an Italian-American thing, okay? First things first. We are connecting every single thing the same way they do it, okay? After we have connected everything, we're about to do some phonetical breaking here. Let's get it. So what part now? What happens like why it's not what part of the boot are you from, hon? No, he said, what part of the boot you from, hon?
What part of the boot you from, hun?
What part of the boot you from? Okay, so what part? Now, what happens with T? The T here is, well, somewhat dropped, but it's not dropped. It's a stop T, okay? You do not say that hat. Like, for example, this great channel with the explanations on American sounds and whatsoever. It's called Sounds American. Shout out to Sounds American. Helps me a lot in my teaching, experience. And they have this amazing explanation for the drop T's, right? Well, not only T's, there's a whole video on the drop sounds. They call them stop sounds because they're stopping the puff of air, right? What got me excited about it the most, it was how they explained the T, and they came up with the example, I like that hat. So the Americans, they will never say, I like that hat. They will say, I like that hat. I like that hat. Okay, now let me erase that thing real quick. So that hat, they will never say, right? So they say that hat. So step number one, you have to think of the sound t. What is the positioning? Like, what's the positioning here? The positioning of your teeth, the positioning of your jaw, the positioning of your tongue, okay? So t. But you see the t sound, it is aspirated. So with aspirated, you're puffing out air, right? So think and try to begin the sound T, like T, like this. And you do not aspirate. Okay, that's it. So it's not what, but what, and you stop. That's why some people call it stop T, okay? Now, what, and just like a quick tip for y'all here, to make that sound properly, you gotta touch the alveolar ridge, the hard pattern. It is also called the inner part of your mouth. It is hard. You can touch it with your tongue right now. Like, go ahead. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard though. Yes. So you touch it with the tip of your tongue and you keep the tip of your tongue there without aspirating anything. Okay. So you go, what? As if you want to say what, but you do not aspirate the air at the end. Okay. So what? Okay. Then did he say what part? Listen.
What part of the boot you from, hun?
He said, what part? What part? Part. Because he is non-rhotic speaker. Non-rhotic speakers, they do not emphasize the R's, unlike rhotic speakers. Like, for example, in New York, like a person from Los Angeles probably is going to pronounce the word New York like New York, New York, okay? But the person from New York, the originally from New York, he's going to say New York. Same goes for Los Angelinos. Car, bar, park, New Yorkers. Car, bar, park. So, rhotic, car, bar, park. Non-rhotic, car, bar, park. Okay? So, what part of the, now, guys, you remember in the American English, of, it's or of, he went with So, what part of the, so now the THE combination, it sometimes may sound as the, right? Not the, but the, okay? So as in Russian, dom, or as in Spanish, dar, okay? Dar, or in Russian, dom, okay? So you replace this TH if it's quite hard for you to articulate the sound, which I probably explained multiple times in my previous videos. But if it's still hard for you, just replace them as in Russian, dom, or Spanish, dar, okay? So the. And again, the. This is the D's. This is the sound you have to use. You can use, okay? So what part of the boot you from, hun? Okay, boot you. Now, guys, you remember that if, as in whatcha, right? If we have the E sound and it goes after the T sound, it gives us this ch. So he said boo chew. What we drop the T, what? It's still there, but it's not aspirated, all right? We dropped it, we dropped the R, and we ended up with the T in between two vowel sounds, right? What part of the boot you from, hun? From. Hun. What's hun? Hun. Hun. Chinggis hun? No, it's not Chinggis hun, it's honey, for short. So it's sweetheart, a lovely one. So you address someone you love, you address someone you like, some of your close ones. What's up, hun? So it's most likely it's from husband and wife, a girlfriend and a boyfriend, partners, that kind of relation thing. Okay, so honey. So what part of the boot you from, hun? What part of the boot you from, hun? Listen to it.
What part of the boot you from, hun?
What part of the boot you from, hun? What part of the boot? And you'd be like, boot? What's boot? Guys, Italy. Italy on the map looks like a boot. That's it. So he literally asks her, what part of the Italy are you from? He dropped the R to be. Who cares about to be when you're Italian American, okay? So what part of the boot you from, hun?
What part of the boot you from, hun?
All right, let's get moving.
Avellino. My mother would have loved it if you and I got together.
Avellino. He goes, I am meaning like my ancestors came from Avellino. Obviously, they're not from Italy themselves. They were born in the United States, right? But their ancestors, or maybe like great-grandfathers or grandfathers, they came from Italy. They were migrants from Italy, right? They migrated from Italy to the United States, the land of opportunity. Okay? So, and then he goes, he calls out the name of the part of the Italy, part of the boot. He calls out the part of the boot his family's members from, right? His family members are from. All right, so, and then he goes, my mother would have loved it if you and I got together.
My mother would have loved it if you and I got together.
My mother would have loved it if you and I got together. Listen.
My mother would have loved it if you and I got together.
So he goes, my mother. Again, I have already mentioned today, guys, that mother, it's rhotic. Mother, it's not rhotic. And it does happen not only in the case scenario where British English, mother, or American English, like Midwest American English or West American English, the rhotic pronunciation, mother, right? So it's something in between, okay? New Yorker, right? So my mother would have loved it. My mother would have loved it if you and I got together. So my mother would have loved it. What, again, guys, would have. It's a third conditional, would have plus verb in the third form, past participle, right? Would have loved it, but it didn't happen. So, so that's why it's the third condition. All right, it was a fucking amazing explanation. All right, so moving on. My mother would have loved it. Again, you see, the drop T is here. The drop T is here, saying like, what would have loved it? Would have loved it. All right, you just dropping it, almost as if you were dropping it, but technically you just do not aspirate the puff of air. All right, so if you and I, did he say if you and I? He said if you and I got together. Again, guys, together. Did he say together? Did he say it like the way I did it in my opening credits? Infinitive English. Together, we're gonna make your English better. Like my natural way of speaking is somewhere in between. It's still American accent, but it's somewhere in between rhotic and non-rhotic, okay? But most likely when American folks, they hear me and they be like, what part of the States are you from, buddy? And I go like, I'm from the Southwest. They be like, Southwest? But your accent, buddy, doesn't strike me as if you were from Southwest. And I go like, it's because I'm from Southwest of Russia, you dummy. No, guys. So again, guys, the R's, those R's at the very end of the word, doctor, mother, father, computer, super American, isn't it? Yes. Okay. But there are some accents in USA where they reduce it. Not even reduce, they just drop it. They make it sound as if it was, somewhat British, but it's not British, right? It's just non-rhotic. All right. So together, he said, my mother, together, all right? Listen to it again.
My mother would have loved it if you and I got together.
Your favorite part of this video, part of this, okay? Your favorite part of this video. Backward sentence exercise. Let's get to it, guys. You know the drill, y'all. So, together. But keep in mind, let's practice non-rhotic, okay? Let's drop the R's. Let's drop the American R's just for this one time, all right? So, together. Got together. Now this one. You and I got together. If you and I got together. Would have loved it. Would have loved it if you and I got together. My mother, keep in mind, my mother would have loved it. My mother would have loved it if you and I got together.
My mother would have loved it if you and I got together.
All right, guys, that'll do it for today. As always, I really do hope you enjoyed this video. I really do hope that you have learned something from it. So go ahead, click that subscribe button, hit the like button and notification note so you won't miss any positive content going on forward. Stay safe out there. And remember, together, we're going to make your English better.